This is Stevens Institute of Technology. Like many universities in America, Stevens is separated from the rest of the world by physical as well as mental barriers. However, despite these divides, the rest of the world slips through the cracks. The small creatures bring a reality not otherwise found here, namely, that life is finite. The average eastern gray squirrel lives 4 to 5 years. The average eastern cottontail rabbit lives 3 years. The average mourning dove lives 1 to 2 years. The average degree program takes 4 years to complete.
The way that I consider life is kind of refining process. It's about figuring out what life itself is.
I try not to think so much of the fact that everything is alive, but I'm merely just living to appreciate the fact that everything is alive.
Phenomenon of life is something pretty amazing, I think, especially when we take it on the individual level and we look at ourselves.
Confused, incoherent, constantly changing. I've been totally baffled by life for as long as I can remember.
I feel like every time people probably our age think about death, like they have a very large existential conflict going on in their head because they feel like they have to fulfill something before their time is up, and maybe they're discontented with what they're doing right now.
Which is a bit of a shame because it's very important to have a consideration for mortality, because that's kind of what gives you grounding and this motivation to pursue what you can while you're alive.
Students really try to go somewhere in their life, but they also have I think, deep-seated desire to raise some important questions.
So I think it's natural for some people to think of philosophical and spiritual questions as a luxury that they can't afford, that will distract them from their goal of getting somewhere in life, of winning the race.
While you may be looking forward to your future, it's kind of just, all right, let's get to the next step, a job, And apart from that, you're not really considering the true long term.
Or at least in my personal opinion, I don't think about it because I'm not so afraid of it yet. It's not an impending crisis for me. I have a lot more things to think about and occupy my known time on Earth with rather than what is coming after,
I feel that when you're young, you have so much of a lifespan ahead of you, the question of mortality almost becomes hypothetical.
It's not really something that's popular to consider or talk about in these college environments.
Some students, though, when I bring up these questions, it's clear to me that they've already been obsessing over them themselves.
In my experience here over the years, I've seen that students are really caring not just about themselves and about friends, but also about the world in general. They're also questioning whether the things that they do and that they put a lot of effort in are actually worth it.
So I think we question our lives in a way that other non-human animals are not capable of. This can be disturbing, it can create lots of anxiety, but to me it's an essential part of being human. We have this gift of being able to reflect on ourselves and reflect on life and stand apart from it and look at it as this strange thing.
So a more philosophical way, we could say, of dealing with that would be to be aware that death is really around us at all times, that again certain social conditions, certain social advancements don't really define us, and that life is fragile and that we should be really aware of that.
it is good to think about the future and plan for things and go to college for something that's going to make your life easier and definitely more enjoyable later on in your life. But make sure that you do things that make you happy, that you are awake and experiencing things that are in the world, and all the things that you like about life, because eventually you're not going to have it anymore.
Because we kind of take it for granted in many senses. If you don't really think about the fact that you are going to eventually die, you're not going to value the time that you have alive as much. And that time is a lot shorter than we really think.
It's something that I struggle with all the time. We take life for granted instead of seeing life as infinitely improbable and a miracle, which actually we should see it as every single moment of our waking lives. We just don't really see it at all because we're so focused on getting stuff done.
I believe in this truly. I think that we are here for a good time, not for a long time.
Without that consideration, I might push it off. I might be more prone to procrastination.
Keep thinking about these things if it gives you pleasure, and pleasure in a kind of deep sense.
You can't just think of how fragile all humans' things really are. Relationships are fragile, mental health is fragile, social conditions are fragile, economies are fragile. So being aware of that certainly helps us to focus on what is truly important.